Alright, my name is Jonathan and I'm here in the archives showing you how to Unibind. First step, we want to turn on our Unibind machine. Switch is at the back. This light will go red. You hear the motors engaged for the crimper, and we're ready to rumble. We have the book today, Great Essays by Nobel Prize winners. First thing we notice, the back cover's fallen off. It's got tape in it that you can clean off. Not really all that important until we get to the next step. Check for any loose pages. Appears we only have one, and it's the very front page. So what we're going to do is first remove the outer cover. Do this by hand or with a knife. Just save this for later. Check the back cover for any information, such as your barcode back here. You'll want to remove that later. Check the back, clean it up, any fuzzies on it. Examine the spine, remove any excess material on that. I like to take this knife and run it down the spine just to rough it up a little bit so the glue adheres better, and remove any stubborn bits of cover left over from tearing it off by hand. Make sure you get any fuzzies off of there. We can see the book has split. That's not anything detrimental. It's just because you ripped off the cover, it's no longer having anything holding it together. What we can do to mitigate this until we unibind it, and to make the unibinding process easier, is take a little bit of glue, a small paintbrush, just dab it along the spine. Rub it in there nice. Get a little thin coating of it. Not enough to make the pages stick up towards the lettering, but just enough at the edge so the seams match back up. Put the split section back together. Make sure lined up top, bottom, and outer edge. The bottom's coming together really nice there. This top edge having a little bit of struggles with. And we're all set. Next step is to take your front and back cover and go and make copies of these, which we've already done. After we make our copies of the cover, first thing we're going to do is put in that first page that came out. I'm going to go along the spine with a little glue, just like how we put together the book after it's split. We remove the covers, just enough to hold it in place. Go ahead and stick the first page back on, lining up at the bottom, top, and edge. And then over top of that, let it sit for a couple of seconds just so it solidifies, so it doesn't shift on us. We're going to attach the front cover to this page. Just a thin little layer of glue. Line up the front cover at the bottom and spine section. You can always cut some off the edge where the book opens, if need be. And we're good to go. Make sure it's completely straight as much as you can be. Do the same for the back side. We still have a little bit of cover here. You just tear that off. We don't want any debris in the way of our glue, whether it's hot or regular glue. So I'll just leave to the book falling apart later. Take a little bit of glue, dab it along the edge here. And this is just to hold everything together until we can get it into the Unibinder. Line up the back cover at the edge. And we're good to go. To move on, we take a measurement of the spine of the book to see what size unibinding sleeve we need. This is about a 1-inch thick book. But we'll just go grab 1 inch because it is fairly common size. We have our 1-inch unibinding case. First thing you're going to do is inspect it. Cracks along the seam, make sure this plastic is all whole and adhered in there. It does have a little dent here, but this shouldn't cause any issues. We want to measure and see if the book actually fits into this Unibind case, which it does not. It's a little bit too tight. so it's a little bit over 1 inch wide. So we'll go the next size up, which would be 1 1/4 inch. Same thing, inspect the cover for any cracks, damages, make sure it's sealed in there, properly adhered. Go ahead and stick the book in, and we got a much better fit. It's okay to have a little bit of excess, like that, maybe 1/16 of an inch. That's alright, because when we put it in the clamp, or the crimper, it'll clamp down and give you a good hinge. So, as you can see, this is the glue section that heats up when it's in the Unibinding section, in the Unibinding machine. You want to go to the end with the most glue at it, and that's where the base of your book will go. What I like to do, because the glue doesn't extend all the way through the cover on the spine, is to grab a little bit of extra glue off the spare kit right here. Grab a pair of scissors, put the glue in, kind of measure how much I want in there, and then make a cut. And that will just give us a little bit of extra adhesive down there on the bottom spine of the book where it gets a lot of wear and tear being pulled in and out of shelves. Once we've got our extra piece of glue in there, make sure it's on the actual metal section of the spine. Line up your book in there. For thinner fitting books where the spine is really tight on them, make sure your cover page or your front cover and rear cover don't get torn on the edges of the spine. And what I like to do is take the whole assembly and push it up against something flat so I know the book is seated in there properly. So everything lines up at the bottom. Like that. Check and make sure your glue is still in the right spot. And then, since this is a little bit wider of a book, I took out the middle section of the Unibinder so it'll fit onto the hot plates. And what you do is you just gently tap it onto the metal plates, and there's a magnet in there that will sense that something metal has been placed on it, and it will start heating the element, as you can see by the red light. Once you place it in there and the red light comes on, you gotta wait a minute. I recommend watching the end of your book you put your extra glue in, and if you come over here you'll see a little bit is leaking out. That's perfectly alright, because we can clean that off later. It just lets you know that the machine is actually doing its job and heating it up. If you've been waiting here and the light's still red and no glue's coming out and you don't see, you can also check down by looking down into the spine section where the book is not covering it, and you'll see that glue turn liquidy. If it's not heating up, then the machine's probably broken, so I'd recommend contacting whoever's in charge of the binding and mending process up in the library. Other than that, you just sit here and wait for it to melt. It may take a couple minutes. Okay, once your lights turn green, as you can see here, we simply pick up the book, making sure to keep it all in line and so that it doesn't slide out, because the glue is slippery when it's hot, and simply place it into the crimping folder, or section I should say. This is a little bit finicky. If you have a smaller spined book, perhaps a 1/2 inch or smaller, the magnet in here is not very strong, so it won't pick it up. And also when it'll crimp it, it'll only crimp up here because the crimp faces in there are in an L shape, I want to say. So what I recommend for smaller books is tapping it and then slightly hovering it above the very bottom of the crimping slot so that the clamps actually work on the spine. Then simply take it and put it in the cooling slot. While that's cooling down, we'll take a little scraper and clean out the hot glue that leaked out from the spine in the book. Once that's all done, and this is cooled down, we simply take it over to our mending station again, and we're ready to do some rough cuts on the binding booklet. I recommend going in with a pair of scissors first. Do this sliding around, go right up to the spine, and you rip it off the plastic cover, that is, not rip the book. Flip it over, Do the same to the back side. It's okay if you make mistakes out here because you got a lot of plastic to work with. Rip that off, and then go through with the scissors a little bit closer, just to get, just removing all the extra material makes it easier to work with. There's less stuff in your way. You don't have to be too precise with the scissors. The more material you remove, the better. But just remember, once you take something off, you can't put it back on. So you'll have to restart if you mess up and cut into the cover section over the book. Okay, we're all done with our rough cuts. Now we can go in with our X-Acto knife. And what I like to do is line up the blade on the edge of the page. And I just run it down the side of the book. It's important to have a sharp blade on here so it can cut through both the paper and plastic first go. If you don't have a sharp blade, you'll probably just be cutting through the paper, which is okay because then it lets you see on the back side how much plastic you need to remove. Run it down there a couple times. Make sure we remove all the plastic we can so it's perfectly in line with the book. And as you can see, we have a little bit of bowing there from the knife moving out, probably through a cut already in the cutting mat. And you can see the difference between non-trimmed and trimmed. Now we move on to the front side. Do the exact same thing. Run the knife along. Remove both the paper and plastic in one pass. You can remove the paper first or the plastic. I recommend doing it in one pass so you don't have to make so many cuts and mess up. Less opportunities to mess up. But you can also just remove the paper first, then the plastic. Go along the open edge of the book. Moving the paper on this cut. This is kind of at an awkward angle if you see how the book's bowed like this. Plastic didn't get cut all the way through. Just run it across a couple times just to make sure everything is fully detached. Because this plastic is finicky. If you don't cut it all the way and then you try and pull at it, it'll break and then you'll have to restart, which is no fun. Another trick you can do is when it's not detaching like this, is take the knife blade and run it along and line it up with the edge of the book page and just scrape downwards like this, and it'll cut out almost perfectly. Go through on the front side, run it along, move the paper first. So you have a clear view on the front side. You can see where the plastic is overhanging. You can just pull it off like this, or run over it again with a knife if it starts breaking on you. Here's another example of running the knife blade downwards along the page edge. Be sure not to cut into the book pages. On the bottom side, since we did all that work lining it up, really doesn't need trim. There's just a little bit at these corners where the book opens I'd like to take off. And just some paper that was overhanging. You can trim off, not really much plastic there. Just run it along a couple times. Press down on the book so that all the pages are lined up so you don't accidentally get one of those. Back side, moving out of the front side. There's nothing for us to trim, so we're all good. What next you'll want to get is in here. We have our tin snips. Metal edge of this book can be cut through with scissors, but you're going to ruin your scissors, so it's better to just go with tin snips. Work these along. First cut is a rough pass. Second one, I like to take the blade and run it right along the top of the book so you get a smooth finish, perfectly in line with the rest of the pages. Run over it multiple times just to be sure. There we go. And when you're working with the tin snips, it will pry the book, the Unibind mount away from the book. So you just run it right through the crimper again, and seal it back up. See, and then it'll go back in place. At this stage, I like to run my hand over it and see where all the errors in the plastic are. There's a big old tag right there sticking off. There's another one here. We can grab our sandpaper, and the first step is I like to get rid of the rough edges where we just cut the metal. Those can seriously hurt someone if they're not aware of them, so it's good to sand them down and make them non-hazardous. Nice and smooth. Then I like to go along the top face, the top edge of the book, and sanding on the plastic to get rid of any bumps and tags that have been left over from cutting. Make it nice and smooth so no one catches their hands and they don't catch on other books and destroy them. Nice and smooth. It may take a little bit more sanding than that, like on these larger sides. It's definitely going to take a couple minutes to get them nice and smooth and level with the pages around them. And also to round off the corners of the plastic so those don't catch on stuff and break. Just kind of making a U shape or a curve with your hand in the sandpaper and then running it over the edge or the corner there really helps to make it smooth. Run down the side, getting rid of all those little tags from lifting up the blade or where the blade hit a harder piece of plastic or a piece of glue underneath on the cutting mat. It didn't cut through all the way. Brings us to another corner, making that U shape and just rubbing the edge. As we can see here, just a little bit of sanding. It takes some elbow grease to get these books down to the smoothness of the original cover and to be perfectly sized back to the book so there's no overhang at all. You'll be sitting here for a while. The bottom, the metal can be rough. It's more the plastic you worry about the bottom because we didn't cut it with the tin snips. You can see this edge here. The edge of plastic that we need to remove. Go after that with a piece of sandpaper and it comes right off. When you have to remove a lot of material with the sander or the sandpaper, a lot of plastic, I recommend afterwards going through with this X-Acto knife because sometimes it won't sand all the way off. It'll just fold over. And just scraping along here like this with the blade not pointing towards you, away from you, just scraping along here. Now get rid of any extra material that decided to fold over this way. Take a pair of scissors and then run it like so. And then that'll just scrape off any extra plastic that went towards the book. Nice and smooth. Making a cup shape or a curve with my hand and sanding off the corner there just so it doesn't get caught and stab anyone. And here's the side. We have a divot and then a little tag on it. Those can be sanded out. The little tag will just be sanded off and then the divot will be smoothed out. Making sure to press on the book so all the pages line up so you're not sanding into the pages and removing a ton of material that way. It's okay if you get the edges of the pages with the sandpaper because there's nothing written on those and it'll help the books stay together longer if there's nothing sticking out to be caught. And after just a couple minutes or a few seconds of sanding, we're completely flat in this area and the same result will be had once we start sanding down in this area. Once you're done sanding the book, sign your signature on the mending slip, slap it in there, take your back cover with your barcode, take a pair of scissors. So we've cut the barcode out, take one of our little plastic clips with our mending slip here, and clip it all to the front page. And we're good to go. Thanks for watching. And then down the side.
Expect you all to be good and make good choices tomorrow.
Yep. Everything's going right.
It's okay. Just keep going.
Yeah.